This is a dehumidifier drain hose with the 3/4 inch female hose thread. I've received this for free to review. If you wanted to purchase it, it would cost you somewhere between $7 and $10 depending on the deals you get. So in the package we have a little container of Teflon thread tape, a rubber gasket, and a filter to keep, for example, bugs from climbing back up this thing here into your dehumidifier. So if you're going to be draining into a kitchen sink or something, you can just use the plain old rubber gasket. If you're going to be leading this thing outside, you probably want to use the gasket with the mesh screen here. It's potentially possible that will eventually get clogged up, although the dehumidified water should be pretty clean. But that would keep ants or bugs from climbing back up this hose and getting into the house through the dehumidifier. I'm going to measure the length of this thing, because one thing the listing didn't have was a good length measurement of this hose. They just kind of showed a picture of it. Okay, so this hose is 4 feet long. So this 4-foot long hose is a good size for attaching to your dehumidifier and then running down to a sink drain. So if you're running your dehumidifier on a counter while you're off on vacation, you can just drain it down a sink drain or a tub drain. If you're going outside with it, you're going to have to put your humidifier pretty close to a wall to snake this through a wall. I'm going to be mounting this in a storage room in my garage that has concrete block walls, but it's close to a wooden wall. So I'm going to snake it out a wooden wall to get it outside of my garage so that I don't have to drain the dehumidifier thing like 2 or 3 times a day. Okay, I've tightened this thing on, I've put in thread tape on it. I've made sure this area is all dry, and I'm going to put down some paper towels. I'm going to run this guy for an hour and see how much water I collect at the end of this hose, and then also make sure nothing's leaking out from over here. Okay, I've been running this for about an hour, and we have collected a little bit of water, so water is flowing through the tube, but there is no wetness around it, and this paper towel I put down here is also not wet, so I think I have a good enough seal on that. Alright, I'm having a problem in that I'm getting some small amount of water in here, but I'm also getting water in the normal collection bin. I don't think it's specifically my hose here. I think it's the design of this particular humidifier. The water comes down and it fills up this little area, and then it overflows into the collection bin if this area has a cap on it. The problem is, I think that mesh screen in there is blocking the water flow just enough so that a little bit flows over. So I'm going to take the mesh screen out, replace it with the normal just rubber washer, and then try running that, because I don't want any water going in the collection bin. I want it all coming out the tube, because if the collection bin fills up, it turns off. Alright, swapping out the mesh washer for the open washer. Made all the water go down here, and none of the water get in here. And it's going to be coming out somewhere around here. It'll be well inside of that power conduit. I know the power line from that goes straight up, so I'm not risking drilling into any electrical wires. Now, if we compress this a little bit, it might fit through a 5/8 inch hole. And I'm certain, I'm pretty sure it would probably fit if I compressed there, but it'd be tight to get through. I am certain it would go through a 3/4 inch hole, however. And because these Forstner bits and the hole saws that I have at this 3/4 and 5/8 size are pretty much kind of one-time use, it's hard to make them bigger. So I am just going to go with 3/4 inch, and I'll probably have to put a little bit of plumber's putty or foam or caulking or something to seal around the outside of this thing, but at least it'll go through the holes nice and easily. So the exit on my dehumidifier is about 9.5 inches from the floor, so I'm going to cut a hole in the wall that is about 8.5 inches off the floor. Now that's just a pilot hole, and with that pilot hole there, I will be able to come in with a hole saw from the other direction and keep the outside nice and neat. Alright, so that pilot hole marks where I want to drill. I'm going to be drilling here, and instead of going in perfectly 90, I'm going to angle up just a little bit since this is for a drain pipe. Now I'm going to go to the other side and finish the other side with the hole saw. Alright, so using the pilot drill here, I've punched through, and I have the hole cut out about halfway through. So now we are going to finish this side over here as neatly as possible, trying to get about the same angle. And hopefully hit up with the outside hole. There we go. So this way both the inside and the outside edges will be relatively clean. Alright, there's our little exit hole. Now we have to route the hose out through this piece of wood right there. Access is a little tight. So if I put this drill like so, that's level. I want it to be below level and out just a little bit. So we're going to drill through there, and we're just putting a pilot hole from the inside to the outside here. If I can get my drill started. There we go. At a slight downward angle. Alright, now that we have this pilot hole punched through the outside, we can follow it back with the Forstner bit to make a nice hole here. And here's where I'm hoping my choice of a 3/4 inch hole is going to make my life easy, because this hose is just going to fit through it super nice and easily. That does feel nice and easy. Alright, the dehumidifier fits nicely back in that little corner. Now it's drawing air in from the back here, but I have a good 4 inches there for air to come in, and it shoots it out the side and around. So it'll have not as good of an airflow as it could have, but it has a decent amount to cycle air through this little tiny room. Now if I'm amazingly lucky, this hole here will go through nice and easily as well. Although it's through a thicker bit here, so we'll see if it goes through. It seems to be going pretty nicely. So, knock on wood, that's going to just work. Okay, and we have enough left over to get it a little bit away from the house. I'm hoping this is going to drain out of there, down the driveway and into that drain there. Keep in mind, anytime you're putting continuous sources of moisture near your house, that's an attraction for insects and termites. So I have here my closest termite trap, or bait station. So hopefully, if any termites find that, they'll also find this guy and kill the hive off. Alright, so we're currently at 73% relative humidity. I'm going to let this thing run for a while, and we will see if it goes down. Alright, that hose is draining water as it should. And relative humidity is down to 51%.